Resetting into a somewhat familiar world is where ReZero Arc 6 Phase 4, or Volume 24, begins. Subaru has just had his heart moved by the words of Emilia before their joint demise, and he has found his resolve as Subaru Natsuki to continue onwards even without his memories. Upon reset, the only thing he can feel is immense love for these two people who hold him dearly, and he embraces Bayako and begins to cry, a far removal from Arc 2 Subaru, who tried so hard to hold it together on his own, to keep up appearances. He now embraces the two most important people to him in this world. He understands now. He understands everything. He is Natsuki Subaru, and he has commenced a new loop in order to rescue everything. Diverging from Phase 3, Subaru lets the Roundtable know about his amnesia, and while people are initially skeptical, Subaru's heart is much stronger in this loop. He repeats the Ram scene from the prior phase basically one-to-one, but instead of watching helplessly as she cries into his chest, he is determined that not only will he get his memories back, he will save Ram. He will carry through no matter how many tries it takes. If he breaks this promise, if he gives up in front of her, he tells Ram to do whatever she would like to him. Subaru's heart will not waver. It will especially not waver as he stands on the edge of a great fall and feels someone's presence. He spins around and grabs the arm of someone about to push him off the ledge. Meili porch route. Subaru does not hold disdain for this young girl attempting to take his life, as, due to him reading her Book of the Dead in Phase 3, Subaru knows exactly what makes Meili tick. Her vestige, ironically, is something that will not leave Subaru's mind. He understands that she is but a child who had nothing besides Elsa and Mother, raised by assassins and someone who grew up with low emotional maturity and a lack of being able to process trauma. Her only outlet is to default back to what she has been doing since being saved by the people she loved most. To kill. Subaru thought to what Natsuki Subaru would do, and determined that the old version of himself would kill her right here and right now, and presents a decisively different alternative. However, in reality, they might be much closer than they think. Subaru speculates that when he killed Meili previously, it was a self-defense response from the other personality inside of him. But with how many twists and turns this arc has had, I feel that might be too obvious of an option. It also turns out that this wasn't a decision made only by Subaru, but is something the entire party was made aware of. They have a discussion about keeping her around and decide to raise her properly. Subaru also raises another point during this discussion, to postpone any attempts at recovering his memories for the time being, and instead focusing on taking the tower. They face initial shock, but he explains that it could be possible that defeating the Watchtower's trials is what is necessary to unlock his memories, and the rest of the party tentatively agrees. Subaru then presents his idea to the party, to look for the Book of Reed Estrella. As they head to the library, Subaru pulls Julius aside, as he wants to have a conversation that only this Natsuki Subaru could have with him. This is a moment I wish I read during Pride Month, but I digress. We get an incredibly touching scene that further showcases why I think Subaru and Julius have one of the best dynamics in ReZero, a relationship that forms between a no-name and someone with great status and respect, slowly transitioning into a mutual understanding, and blossoming into what they have now, between someone with great status and respect and a no-name. Julius, who has lost everything he once had, his name, his ties to his family, the brother he doesn't know he has, and his self-worth as a knight, now meets here with Subaru, both practically starting from zero. That is what makes this conversation so impactful. That is that, and this is this. That which comes before us holds no meaning over the us of today. We don't even have access to the versions of us from the past. The only thing that we can focus on is what lies in front of us, right here, right now. Julius questions why Subaru wants him to win so badly despite how he's lost twice. He has been put to shame 2 separate times by Reed Estrella, and even right in front of Subaru. He has shown the party him at his lowest, and without all the memories of the knight Julius, that is all they know. To which Subaru responds, Subaru Natsuki, the one standing before you right now, has never seen you lose. This Julius that only he clings onto is someone Subaru is not familiar with. No matter how beaten down he feels, the way he carries himself, the way he is willing to fight in the fiery pits against an unbeatable opponent, the way he puts it all on the line for other people in the darkest hour is what makes him a knight. He should not hold on to what other people do not even know him for, but he should instead fixate on the narrow chance he has in the present. They catch back up to the party and find out Meili had uncovered Reed's book, and the party begins to speculate about who should read it once more. Arita thinks, what if you lose a bit of your memories each time you read a Book of the Dead, which is why Subaru only lost most of them. An interesting theory, but of course predicated on the fact that Subaru isn't being entirely honest with his memory loss. Subaru says that he should read it, as he is the most useless on the team. Everyone provides more value than him due to his weakness, and this line of thought concerns Emilia, as she doesn't like it when he acts overly reckless, as he once again puts the burden all on himself. He reassures the party and cracks open the book, but it functions entirely differently. He is told they are in the cradle of Ode Laguna, the Hall of Memories, and the person standing before Subaru reveals herself to be the Sin Archbishop of Gluttony, Luis Arneb. The way she speaks, she refers to herself as if there are multiple, which Subaru questions. Luis responds that she has siblings, and maybe Subaru does too, which kind of grosses him out. This gets him thinking about his parents, and how he just knows that they are searching for him to this day. He hopes that instead of just disappearing and being isekai'd here, that he was instead reincarnated, so that his parents may be given closure on his disappearance. This line of thinking comes to a quick finish, however, as Luis understands everything that Subaru is thinking about. She states that he is quite good at pretense, or hiding what is within one's own heart. The Hall of Memories is a place for filtering souls. It clears the dirt and grime stuck to them so that they can be used once more in a clear state. The place they're in now is a mechanism for keeping the world from breaking. An uninterested, impartial mechanism, doling out resources without a thought. This definitely disproves my crack theory that Ode Laguna would be the sword god. Upon hearing this, Subaru asks Luis straight up, "Are you the one who took my memories?" "Yeah. So what?" This is not entirely unexpected after the events of Phase 3. So Subaru, who arrived with 3 witch factors, lost his memories and now somehow is considered to have 4. What happened to Subaru when his memories were eaten? Does it have something to do with the emergent personality that came out to kill Meili? Subaru says that he could kill her right here and right now, but she says, "You would be killing yourself too," as his current self would be overwritten by that wretched Natsuki Subaru. She agrees with Subaru's previous appraisals of his character, tapping into his eaten memories to portray him in a dark light. Subaru was a jerk who selfishly felt he was doing Amelia a favor by being her friend. How kind must he be to be friends with a half-elf? How much of a god must he be for saving both Betty and Rem, and now they are both reliant on his existence? Someone with such a superiority complex, why kill yourself to bring him back? This brings up an interesting conundrum for Subaru. The experiences he's had, the friendships he has made, the woman he loves, the people who respect him, having a place in this world after living in solitude, being admired and loved, would bringing back his memories destroy the person he is now? He has spent his life in a black void, and finally sees a distant light. Why does he have to be the one to part with his life? After all, Subaru Natsuki isn't him. It's an imposter pretending to be him, someone he must expunge from this world if he wants to be with the people he loves. Subaru doesn't know what decision to make, as he sits on top of Luis with his hands wrapped around her throat. Does Natsuki Subaru deserve to live? Does he deserve to die? Why must he prioritize the happiness of someone whom he holds so much disdain for? Himself. His spiritual form in the Hall of Memories begins to crack apart as he loses himself in this quandary. He thinks about stepping back, letting the old Subaru die so he can continue living his life, until a form appears in the hall. Subaru does not even glance up to acknowledge it, thinking it's the old him, and begins to taunt himself. However, a kind voice speaks out and says, "Why do you have to choose only one?" This stuns Subaru. He looks up to see a girl in a maid dress with blue hair standing over him. Subaru doesn't recognize her, but she begins to yell at him, telling him to stand up. Who is to say that restoring his memories will kill the Subaru there is now? He stands up per her request, and Rem yells at him, "Save everyone. Save the people close to you. Save everything." Because that is what Subaru would do. He doesn't have to choose. He can make the greedy choice of not dying for the other Subaru's sake. And this strong feeling begins to activate the witch factor lying dormant within him since the end of Arc 5. Subaru's resolve has, for the second time, been found again, and this sends Luis into a frenzy. You see, gluttony cannot eat the same person twice, but if she had succeeded in fully separating Natsuki Subaru from Natsuki Subaru, then she would be able to feast on his memories once again. But why? Why eat the memories of someone so pathetic, so hopeless, somebody who has nothing, somebody who has never known a good life? Luis responds that Subaru is the only person who can experience death, a memory nobody can hold but him. With this newfound strength and being told to stand up, he leaps out of the Hall of Memories to awaken back in the tower. The Hall of Memories section was very interesting to say the least. It introduces quite a few questions. How was Rem able to materialize in the Hall of Memories despite it being a spot that Luis said nobody can intrude on? Why did Reed Estrella's book lead Subaru to the Hall of Memories? What did Subaru calling upon the greed factor in there do? Did it repair his cracking body? Why is Luis locked in the Hall of Memories? Can gluttony only eat memories from this world? Is that why Subaru retains them? An incredibly interesting chapter to say the least. When Subaru wakes up, he finds out he's been out for about an hour, when usually reading the Book of the Dead only takes a few seconds, implying that the Hall of Memories is quite a real place with an accurate flow of time. Erinda kind of pushes Subaru on what if he really kept his memories this whole time, and her role in this arc has been very interesting. Understandably, the entire party functions as essentially yes men for Subaru, as he has proven himself time and time again to all these people, but to Erinda, who has something to protect outside of the Emilia camp's goals, someone who has no familiarity with Subaru, her antagonistic approach to him and his antics makes complete sense. As far as she knows, Subaru appeared in this world, got a high-ranking position in Emilia's cabinet, achieved many great things, smells like the witch, and suddenly loses his memories. He is an odd character, and Erinda is our window into seeing how strange he really is. Erinda tells Subaru that while he was asleep, Shala, Emilia, Julius, and Ram split off to protect the tower from something, and immediately after, Subaru tells Erinda and Betty that he, in fact, did not read Reed's book, but instead saw gluttony in the Hall of Memories. They begin to discuss Ode Laguna, and it's described as a place where all mana returns to. If this is the case, what about miasma? Does miasma return to Ode Laguna? If so, does it run the risk of corrupting what essentially acts as the soul of the world, or is it effective in filtering out the corruption from the mana? Ode Laguna retrieves souls, strips them of everything, distributes them back out and takes the contents of the soul to create a Book of the Dead. Ode Laguna and the Pleiades Watchtower are somehow directly connected to one another. After speculation, the party comes to the conclusion that Luis has somehow infiltrated the Hall of Memories and has overtaken the original function of Ode Laguna, chipping away at the memories that come flooding in. Reed's book connects to Ode Laguna because it is not a book being used to retell memories like every other book, but instead is being used to reconstruct Reed Estrella for the examination, leaving the book empty and giving it a direct connection to Ode Laguna. Subaru basically reignites the flame of hatred for gluttony that old Subaru had. A person is shaped by their memories, their experiences, their knowledge, their worth, their path was etched into history. Gluttony's power of taking those was something that went against the very nature of this world. To use those memories and experiences for their own pursuit of happiness was absurd, distorting and twisting fate with illogical methods, something only a truly evil being was capable of. This, however, is something Subaru is quite literally capable of doing with Return by Death. He holds memories of people that they will never understand or remember. He uses previous loops in pursuit of the happiness of himself and his friends. There is a very interesting parallel to be drawn between Gluttony and Subaru here. He thinks about how Luis said the other two gluttonies are closing in, and also understands that since his memories have been eaten, that will include all the intel on their fighting strategies, and he immediately works to find out what the other group is doing. He finds Shala, who is raining hellfire down on the sands below, as witch beasts surround them, and she quite literally says the line, "Okay Google," in the web novel. This is not a stupid translation, it is as is in Japanese. This quite strongly narrows down what time period Flugel is from. He is not from the distant past, like I initially speculated. 400 years in the ReZero world could mean something entirely different in the real world, or it is possible he was plucked from a different timeline that is now 400 years in the future. An incredibly fascinating, minute development that is probably cut from the light novel if I had to take a guess. Subaru entrusts Meili with Shala so that they can stop the witch beast from infiltrating the tower, and the party runs off to find Ram and Amelia, and they run into just Ram. She says that one of the gluttonies is already in the tower, fighting someone unknown with silver hair. Amelia's name has been eaten by gluttony. But how did they get here so quickly? And how did they break sand time? Something that took our party so long to clear. Subaru ponders why he isn't affected by gluttony, and wonders if it's because he isn't from this world, so this world's rules do not work on him. He also speculates that maybe that is why he returns by death, because his soul cannot be overwritten in the Hall of Memories. This is honestly an amazing theory. Perhaps Satella is intervening in the stripping down of Subaru's soul, so he has returned back to save points with everything intact. This would also lead me to believe that RBD doesn't use alternate timelines like Steins Gate would, but instead it is quite literally time travel. He runs into the fight and finds Amelia fighting Lei, and he tells Amelia it's okay. He didn't forget. He kept his promise that he made for himself. He will never forget the impact these people have left on him again. As Julius flies into battle with Amelia, they start off victorious until Lei begins to use his massive memory bank to tap into Amelia's ice arts and strategies from warriors of old, until suddenly, Reed Estrella enters the room. Lei tries to talk to him, but immediately diagnoses that talking to Reed is impossible and initiates combat. It goes about how you'd expect, and Lei gets absolutely pummeled. Julius takes the opportunity to try and get a one-shot kill on Reed, which also, of course, does not work. Amelia then joins Julius versus Reed, and then Lei gets back up, creating a massive brawl inside this watchtower. Subaru can't help but get rid of this itch in the back of his mind. These aren't the only threats. What about the Scorpion? What about the Shadow? Suddenly, his heart begins to hurt as he collapses to the ground. He closes his eyes, and he sees nothing but darkness, but to contrast that darkness, he sees lights. One where Beatrice stands right beside him, two where Julius and Amelia fight, and four behind him with one rapidly approaching. Suddenly, a scorpion digs its pincers into his leg. Without any time to properly react, the shadow appears, swallowing up Subaru and killing everyone. Subaru's greed power has manifested and allows him to detect where his friends are at all times, including Shala. This of course begs the question of why has this power materialized in a vastly different form than Regulus's? Of course, it seems normal for powers to change between people, but what decides their function? This is an especially pertinent question to ask when you think about how closely the powers align with the names of the user. Could it have come to life in this way due to him being Subaru? Or, as his name implies, the person here to unite? He resets in the library, immediately after reading Reed's book, and wastes no time at all. He stands up and immediately gives out orders like he's at war, and knows exactly what he has to do to get to the next checkpoint. He leaves Meili with Shala, and sprints to go get Amelia before her name is eaten. He runs in and Lei and the rest, to which Lei correctly points out that Subaru can remember things even through the authority of gluttony, because he is not from this world. He then proceeds to tap into Rem's memories and emotions because Subaru is a hero, his hero. In this desolate situation, this hopeless, bleak situation, Subaru can save them all, right? What if they started from square one? No, from zero. Lei's taunting is short-lived, because he gets absolutely obliterated by Amelia, to which Luis then takes over the body. Luis shapeshifts between old warriors, and upon this, Ram joins the battle, and holy shit, she is strong. She is absolutely fucking Luis up, but her frail body and fatigue begins to catch up to her. This is when Subaru uncovers another part of his little king power. Not only can he track his friends, but he can also siphon and shoulder their burdens for him, a power very befitting a person like Subaru. He takes on all of Ram's fatigue and pain so that she can fight at 100%, and Luis is getting destroyed. Shala shows up and tries to kill them, but Amelia engages her, and goddamn, is Garfield really this camp's best fighter? Luis gets her ass kicked, and Lei takes the body back, but Lei actually manages to stab Ram. Scorpion Shala is dead set on killing Subaru, even avoiding other people if possible. I assume because of orders from her master to kill him if one of the tower rules ever gets violated. An interesting play from Flugel to say the least. Amelia uses clever positioning to bait Lei into fighting Shala, and the party begins to run away from the fight, pulling Subaru out of there as his authority wrecks his body. Both Ram and Amelia notice that he is doing something to lift their physical burdens, and Beatrice verbally calls it an authority, kind of shocking Amelia, and they definitely do not know he has those. They reunite with Julius, who is fighting Reed, except it's not Reed. The Reed that roams the watchtower is actually Roy Alford, the other gluttony. In the battle between Reed and Julius, Roy shows up and attempts to eat Reed's memories. However, Reed is just that guy, and completely overwhelms Roy's body, shifting into Reed's body and basically becoming the dominant personality. Reed was in fact never at all afraid of Roy eating his memories. He literally let him do it because he knew he would win, and would essentially be revived. He is still an obstacle, however, and Amelia moves quickly to try and instantly kill Reed, which of course does not work. Ram stabs Reed through the gut, and he collapses, and Subaru's authority just ends, unintentionally. What makes all that pain and fatigue Ram has built up hit her all at once, and she collapses in a near-death state. Reed gets back up. That was all a part of the plan. He quite literally cut the connection between Subaru and Ram, and when Subaru asks how is that possible, he just responds, because I wanted to. As the battle between them is about to begin, Shala appears, but as does the shadow, which sends the tower collapsing into the sand. Subaru is swallowed into the black expanse, but Reed quite literally attacks it off of him, and in the sand, instantly kills Subaru. In this loop, Subaru gives everyone their orders minus Shala. He remains with her and asks her one simple question. If I tell you to die, will you die? She says, yeah, sure, why not? Subaru asks her if she turns into a scorpion, which she says yes, but she doesn't like it. The form Mother and Master gave her is the best. Who the fuck is Mother? Subaru probes her about the rules of the examination, and she gives him the normal 4. He says to give him the 5th rule. She declines, and he demands she gives him the 5th rule. She says she doesn't want to because it will be clear how to solve the examinations, and if they solve the examinations, she will once again be plunged into solitude. She waited for Master for 400 years, and these measly 4 days isn't enough to have with him. There's kind of an interesting parallel here where both Shala and Beatrice were isolated for 400 years, but Beatrice doesn't want those 4 days because it's not enough for her, whereas Shala wants to hold on to those 4 days because it's all she can get. She asks, do you hate me for hiding it? And he says no. She is not the originator of the evil of this tower, but suddenly she begins to heat up and transform. Someone broke the rules. She pleads with Subaru to tell her to kill herself, but he keeps asking about the 5th rule. She grabs onto her despite her rising to a boil, and burns himself to reassure her. She finally says it. Rule 5. It is not forbidden to destroy the examinations. She pushes him away so as not to burn him up, and begs him to let her kill herself. Subaru takes a step backwards. No. He won't let her die like that. He then jumps off the watchtower balcony. He wants to save her. Someone who is transforming against her will. Someone who has been isolated for 400 years just like Beatrice. Someone who just wants someone to cling on to. He will save her. He will save everyone. Arc 6 is really just an amalgamation of prior arcs. We have Arc 1 with Amelia telling Subaru her name, Arc 2 with Subaru jumping off a ledge vowing to save, a very similar breakdown reminiscent of Arc 3 Subaru, and Arc 4's examinations. What else is coming for us at Phase 5? There is only one light novel change that I was made aware of, which is when Subaru initially catches Meili trying to kill him, her first thought is to try and jump down the stairs and kill herself. A pretty dark change. For my Phase review, honestly, the only negative thing I could say is that after the amazing climax of Phase 3, the first couple of Phase 4 chapters felt kinda slow, but was it that big of a deal? No, not really, so I'm not really gonna count it. The reasons as to why Meili is seeking to kill Subaru are just interesting, and make sense given her upbringing. The conversation between Subaru and Julius was amazing and offers one of ReZero's best dynamics. The scenes in the Hall of Memories were incredibly impactful and thought-provoking, and the twist of Reed being Roy was entirely unexpected, and the reason he took over is hilarious. And Shala, a character I don't really care for, was made a bit more likable with her fleshing out here in Phase 4. For my expectations, I'm just gonna save my breath, as I don't really like repeating them over and over and over again, but 90% of them are unchanged, so let's just talk about the 2 that are. Meili was the one killing Subaru, yep, I was right about that. And second, Subaru lost his memories due to some witch factor or authority fuckery. Technically true as he was gluttony. I have a few new things I want to put up, but I don't know if I'd call them expectations per se, more so just open thoughts. Number 17, I think it'd be interesting if we got some information about how miasma works with Ode Laguna. This might already be addressed in a side story or something, but you guys might know the answer to this, but I just think it's an interesting concept to think about. Number 18, did Luis perhaps die, and maybe that is why her soul is trapped in Ode Laguna, due to something going wrong with the filtering process and its interaction with the gluttony factor, there is something interesting to be said about name-based authorities and how they manifest in ways that pretty much line up with what people are named, as if your name is destined or written in stone. Regulus's powers being awfully similar to his name, same with Sirius and her Wrath Authority. This is a crackhead theory about Luis. She is a character trapped somewhere against her will and desperately trying to have good experiences. I believe that she has been portrayed in a very sympathetic light by the narrative, and while still recognizing the evil she and her siblings have committed. As she is a non-combatant technically in this battle, I expect Arc 6 to end with Luis being removed from the Hall of Memories. But I don't know if she will be killed. Lei will probably die. Roy, maybe. Kind of weird since he is, Reed Estrella. But I think Luis will survive. That is all for Phase 4 though. I will see you all in Phase 5. And do not forget that I plan on streaming the final 2 chapters of Phase 5. I will be posting more info about that in a community post when the time nears. Thank you for watching. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a couple of questions from the community as per usual. If you want your question read in a video, make sure you leave some comments down below. I'll get to them. First off, would you be interested in reading the If stories? Not at the moment. I'm more interested in getting canon content and expanding my ReZero knowledge, but when I catch up and read all of the relevant side content, it's not something I'm inherently opposed to doing. What is your favorite ReZero chapter so far? This is a tough one. I'm not as familiar with a lot of you guys with the chapter numbers and the names and stuff. Plus, I've only read 5 and 6. But out of 5 and 6, I really enjoyed the Teresia chapter. And the Regulus chapter, and some of the final chapters of Volume 23, where Subaru is completely breaking down in the tower. I love introspective content a lot, so when you get chapters that are just fully inner monologue or how characters feel about stuff, it hooks me super hard. I do agree though, Subaru's speech is really high up there. And finally, which character do you hate the most? Honestly, I don't think I really hate any characters. I think I most feel apathetic towards some. I kind of dislike Liliana and Kiritaka. I'm kind of apathetic towards Shala. I could go without seeing Liliana and Kiritaka ever again, and I would be just fine with that, but I don't really hate any characters per se. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the funny YouTube algorithm. You can go down in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter, or alternatively, you can also join my Discord where I live blog my thoughts as I read phases and stuff like that. We talk about My Hero Academia, ReZero, Jujutsu Kaisen, stuff like that, so please make sure you come by and say hello. That's about it.